right. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the Hashtags and Habits podcast. My name is Danny White, and today I'm happy to welcome Amy Kuphal to the podcast. Amy is a lead generation and email marketing specialist and the founder of the Inbox Entrepreneur. This monthly membership site helps online business owners grow their audience, generate more leads, and nurture those leads through simple, fun, and customizable weekly newsletter templates so that when they have a product or service to sell, they have a sea of eager buyers ready to purchase. Amy fiercely advocates for anti-hustle entrepreneurship and a super fan of simplicity, systems, and structures. I'm also a super fan of that. She is on a mission to help online business owners build businesses that don't just look good on paper, but also feel good. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, we just read a little bit about what you do. To take us back to the first time that you got interested in entrepreneurship, like what initially sparked your interest in building your own business and brand?
You know what? I think I'm one of those ones that has just been interested in entrepreneurship for as long as I can remember. I didn't actually start out entirely in entrepreneurship, though. I went through my undergrad and grad and got certified as a K-12 teacher. So I spent a couple years teaching, but always had in the back of my head that I was building up to the moment that I could leave my full-time teaching job and start out building my own business. So after a couple years of teaching, I was able to do that.
Awesome. So when you started your own business, was it initially in email marketing and lead generation, or did you kind of go through different phases of business building?
Definitely a meandering path. So I would say if there are listeners right now and you are changing your niche or changing your industry, like it's okay. Like we're all figuring it out. I think we have this expectation that we're going to start a business and it's just going to be exactly what it was from day one to like year 30. My teaching certification and the type of teaching I was doing was in health and phys ed. So I was always really passionate about fitness. When I first started my business in 2011, I actually was in the fitness space. So I was personal training, nutrition counseling, behavior change coaching, built that, and I love it. I still love fitness a lot. It wasn't scalable, though. You know, my days I was working 50 plus hour weeks, one-to-one personal training. Yeah. Great when you're in your young 20s, like that's cool. Like in the split schedule, you're working super early in the morning, super late at night. I knew though, once I had my daughter, I had to start thinking about how can I make something more scalable. And I just didn't want to be 70 years old still teaching push-ups. I really didn't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So after building my own business to what was a pretty successful fitness business and started getting a lot of people reaching out to me saying, I've been watching you grow your business. Can I just jump on a Zoom call and pick your brain? Can I just jump on a Zoom call and pick your brain? And I loved it. And they were getting results. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and take on a couple per diem clients for business coaching. See what I can do. It was awesome. I was working from my laptop. They were getting results. So I started doing that, worked as a more general business coach for a while before niching down to email marketing and lead gen.
Very cool. Did you find that business owners are not as focused on email marketing as they should be because of, shiny object syndrome, social media, all the new platforms that are out? And other things that are coming, like speaking, becoming a public speaker, networking events. Do you find like email marketing is like the stepchild of all of these other marketing strategies?
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Yes, I do. And people are going to chase all those shiny objects. And when it does not work as well as they think, they always come back to that. I joke that, so the social media and this and that's like that, like boo you left back in high school who was like good for a good time, but like he didn't call you back. Like he wasn't super reliable. That's all that other stuff. Yeah. Email marketing is marriage material. So when people are done dating and they want marriage material, they're going to come back to email marketing.
Yeah. I love that scenario because email has it's always been there. And sometimes people just overlook it. And I often find myself telling people like, social media is something that you do not own. Like Facebook can be here today and gone tomorrow. So can all of the other platforms. But if you can collect email addresses, you will always be able to communicate with your audience. And it's difficult, but if you can get a good momentum going, it pays off in the long run.
Yeah.
Let's talk about lead generation for a minute, because I think a lot of us understand lead generation to be so many different things. Like, break down lead generation for us.
Yeah. So when I think about the full gamut, I think about, let's start out by, the way I always describe it and the way that I teach it is in 4 parts. So if we picture like a triangle, so the way I teach it is what's called the lead generation pyramid. So we think about a pyramid, that base is going to be your audience. So the first thing we have to think about is, how do we get more eyes and ears on our stuff, on our offers, on us, build up that solid foundation, that audience. From there, then the only thing that I call a lead is when someone is on your email list. So from there, they have seen your stuff, they have heard about your stuff. Let's get them as quick as we can onto your email list. Those are our leads. From there, how do we nurture them until they become aligned clients or customers? So that's when they are values aligned, we have a product or service that they need, we're on a price point that they can afford. Those are our most aligned prospects. And then from there, they become clients and customers. So really thinking about, how do we fill that bottom of the pyramid first? I assume that's probably what you're asking about, that bottom of the pyramid, that base level. Yeah, so there's so many different ways that we can put ourselves in front of our ideal clients. And I think the number of ways is just limited by our own creativity, right? There's so many different ways. Social media definitely is one of them. And I think this is where people go wrong. Social media is awesome for getting in front of new people. It should quickly be bumped to the email list, though. Once they don't keep that relationship on social media. That's where we start the relationship, and then we move them to email. So social media is a good way. Another good way, I have had mixed results, but networking groups, depending on what type of business you have. I've even got leads on my email list from doing something as simple as making an 8x11. This is when I was in the fitness space, an 8x11 flyer, putting some information about my lead magnet on it, putting a QR code, and putting those up at the library. Because at that point I was doing fitness for moms. So I said, let me put all of these flyers with my QR code linked to my lead magnet anywhere that these moms are going. So again, that's just like thinking about, where do my people hang out already, and how do I put myself there?
Makes sense. Okay. So one of the key elements of lead generation is having that initial lead magnet, that thing that someone can download or view or whatever that is. How do you go about helping customer or clients create that type of lead magnet that makes sense for their business? Because I think that's also where, like, people post on social media all day, but it's not long enough. It's not lengthy enough. It's not deep enough for someone to get a good sense of, should I actually put my email address into this thing to get it?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot that comes into building a really, what I would call a high converting lead magnet. The main thing to think about, I'll tell you the main thing to think about, as well as a common mistake that I see people making. So the thing to think about is, okay, anyone that's coming into our world, especially if when we're in the coaching space, even like the course creator space, people are coming into our world because they either have a pain point that they want us to help get rid of, or they have a transformation that they're hoping to achieve. So if I think about that, if I think about, where is my ideal client when they first enter my world, when they first look me up or hear about me, and where is it that they want to get to, there's a gap in between there. So now within that gap from where they are to the transformation, there's a bunch of smaller milestones that they have to hit. So when I think about building a new lead magnet, I think about, what is that first milestone that I can give them a quick win on, so that they feel like, you know what, I actually can be successful with this thing. And that lead magnet, one, it should give them a quick win. Number two, it should then open up the doors to say, okay, this lead magnet took you from A to B, but you also have C to Z in order to get to that larger scale transformation. Here's how you're going to go ahead and do that. And that would be through our paid offers.
Right.
So that is, I think, first and foremost, think about what goal does your client have? How can we break it down to a smaller step? The mistake that I see people making, though, is they get too caught up on, I want to make a lead magnet. Should I make a quiz? Should I make a video? Should I make a PDF? That doesn't matter.
The type. Yeah, the type of lead magnet.
It's like the last thing to think about. Really, it should be, what is the transformation, the micro transformation that I want my prospect to achieve? And then what container fits that information best?
Yeah.
So that the information dictates the type versus the type dictating the information.
I like that. I like that. So let's take a step back. And before we get to the lead magnet, how do you go about helping audiences identify their actual target audience? Because I do think when businesses are starting out, it's like, okay, I can serve everyone with this thing, right? But they haven't really drilled down into all of the filtrations that can happen: age, gender, stage of life, stage of business. Like, there's so many like filters that that you can select before creating this asset that you feel would be beneficial to them. So how do you go about like drilling it down to, these are the simple things, 3, 4, 5 filters, whatever that is. This is your audience. Now go and build that lead magnet.
Yeah. So within my own, my membership is the inbox entrepreneur. We don't get into that a ton within that membership. A lot of the people coming in have been in business for a while. They have a pretty good sense of who their ideal client is. Mm-hmm. But if there are listeners that don't, one of the big things that's helped me a lot is don't be afraid of just going wide at first. Try different things. And this is where I think social media can come in a lot too. Start posting different types of content. I mean, all within if I was a business coach, all within the business coaching space.
Absolutely.
Post different types, see what resonates, see what you really enjoy creating. And I think versus instead of getting in our head thinking about, okay, who should be my ideal client? Don't create it in your head, just get out in the world and do. And that's going to come to you.
Sounds good. What do you think about weekly versus bi-weekly versus daily emails?
I have a strong opinion about this one. I will tell you. Here's what I would say. Hard and fast rule, do not email less than once a week. Okay. Under that, I mean, more than that, I'm flexible. So is it once a week? Is it 3 times a week? Is it daily? I think you're not going to go wrong really with any of those. I think you are going to go wrong if you're emailing less than once per week. And here's the reason. There are stats now that say that the average person receives between 120 and 140 emails per day. I honestly think I'm less than that. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not that popular. I think I'm a little bit less. But 120 to 140 is the stat right now. So I have had people enter into my email marketing membership. Actually, I just had someone last week and we had to have this whole conversation about it. She came in and she goes, I have a newsletter, but I'm only going to email once a month. And I was like, all right. And I'm like, well, why? And she goes, well, I don't want to be spammy. I'm like, all right. So that is the objection that I tend to hear. I don't want to be spammy. People's inboxes are already full. What I would say is if we multiply that out, if they're getting 120 emails per day times 30 to 31 days, and you're one of them, they are not going to see you.
Yeah.
And
you're going to be overlooked for sure.
You're going to be overlooked, number one, which is like, so that's not going to serve your business. And the misconception that she had, and the misconception a lot of people have, is that if I email more, it's more likely that they're going to report me as spam. The opposite's true, because what happens is if you email once a month, your name and your information is going to pop up in their inbox and they're going to say, who the heck is this? Like, I don't even think I subscribed to this person's newsletter. I don't remember them. Spam. Versus if from the start you have a really solid welcome sequence that sets the expectation, tells them how often they're going to be hearing from you. You commit to emailing on a routine. So I do a 2-minute Tuesday. Every single day they expect it. They're not going to forget who you are. They're going to be accustomed and they're going to have the habit of looking for your email, and you're less likely, not more likely, to be reported as spam. So definitely once a week. If you want to do more than that, go to town. I love it.
Okay, awesome. Once a week. I'm on track with the once a week emails. I have had one client that emails, I think, 4 times a week. And my advice was that that's too much, because you just emailed yesterday. Did they even read the email? And her click-through rates and her open rates are like getting lower and lower, like throughout the week. Like they'll open the first email and then like the second email is less, third email is less, fourth email is less. And I think it's because you have to give people time to like consume the information and decide what is the action they're going to take about that particular piece of information, right? So I think I'm on track with the once a week, no less than once a week for sure.
Yeah, no less. And you know what's funny though, because I'm on a couple people's email lists that are daily emailers. And a couple of them I've unsubscribed from because I wasn't resonating with their content. However, there's a couple that I stay on and they're daily emailers. And what I notice that they do different is all of their emails are about 250 words or less. So if you're going to email daily, great. I wouldn't do a full length newsletter necessarily. I mean, maybe some people it works for them. For my ideal clients, it doesn't. I actually have a client in my membership who her ideal client avatar, her people are writers, authors.
Okay.
She does more long form. I do more short form because I have business owners as clients and we're like in and out, like quick and snappy. But this daily emailer, it's 250 words or less. And a lot of times he'll shoot the quick email and I'll say, wait for tomorrow. Subject line is XYZ. And like the story almost continues, like a to be continued.
Oh, episodic emails.
Yes, which has been very cool to see. And I love it. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things, play with it with your own business, see what resonates with your people. And you can always split test it. You can take half of this, do one thing and half do the other and see what your click-through rate is, what your conversion rate is.
Yeah, I do like the idea of like episodic emails because you kind of think about like the Netflix of the email marketing, right? Like if you're a good storyteller and you can tell meaningful stories that are relevant to your audience, I do think that strategy would work better. I want to switch gears a little bit to systems. I feel like we use a lot of tools. We just have a lot of tools at our disposal, especially with like AI coming in and all of these AI-based writing tools and editing tools. How do you pare all of that down to be streamlined when you're building and trying to scale a business?
I think the biggest thing, the thing that I preach day in and day out is, and we talked about this a little bit at the top of the episode, is this shiny object syndrome that a lot of entrepreneurs have. The biggest thing I've done to streamline and systematize my own business is I have one main audience growth strategy. I have one lead generation strategy, one nurturing strategy, and one conversion strategy. So keep it simple because I always say simplicity scales way easier. Simplicity scales and simplicity sells. So if someone's coming to me and I'm like, oh, I could teach you email, but then I could also do some coaching, but then I could also they're going to be confused, right? Yeah. Versus if they say, Amy Kuphal, if you need to know about email marketing, that's your girl. That's easy and it's referable. Yeah. So if anyone else in another room's talking about email marketing, someone's going to drop my name because it's not like, oh, what does she do? It's a clear thing. So I think that's huge. And then in terms of systems and like the automation sort of thing, I always, on a regular basis, I would say at least quarterly, I take a look at my schedule and I say, okay, what that's currently on my schedule, and I should backtrack. Time. I'm a little crazy with my data and whatever, but time, like this is like bizarre, but like it works. So, hey, hot tip right now. I have a time tracker. I literally time every single minute that I do anything related to my business. So the time tracker, I know your eyes, I wish people could see this. Your eyes are yes, but it's so easy. And this is the thing. So the tracker that I use, essentially you set up your categories. And now, right now, for example, we're in a podcast recording. I just click the tab that says podcast recording. It's running in the background on my phone. So you always have your phone with you. It's running in the background. Once we're done recording, I might go into content creation. I click the content creation tab so that at the end of every single week, it spits me out a pie chart of how many minutes did you work? How many hours did you work? What categories was all of your work time in? Mm-hmm. So I might be able to see, okay, 15% of my time was in podcast guesting, 30% was in content creation, 25% was in sales. Because that's really good data. Because if you are saying, okay, I'm not making the sales that I want within my business, and then you look at your last couple of weeks and it's all professional development or content creation, you're getting smarter, but those are not revenue generating activities.
Exactly.
I like that. So that's a big system that I use. I track everything. It's also a system that I use to keep myself honest because I cap myself at 30 hours per week. I used to be like a 50+ hour week. I was exhausted. I was burnt out. I have a strict 30-hour per week limit now. And once I see my clock getting close to that, that's it. That's it. And then if it starts getting too close to it too often, that's when I'm going to put all of what I do through a couple questions. I say, can this be eliminated? So number one, the things that I'm doing in my last couple of weeks, could any of them be eliminated? Mm-hmm. Could any of them be automated? Could any of them be delegated? And then everything that's left over, how can I task batch it in a way that's going to make it more efficient?
I love this entire process. I think I'm still well beyond the 30 hours 30 hours a week at this point. But I want to ask, how do you, once you do the timing, like what made you cap your weeks off at 30 hours of work? Like what do you do in those other hours? And does your work ever go beyond that where you just have to push it to the next week? Like how do you organize that?
Yeah. So the reason why I had to set that hard limit for myself is that I spent years working 50 plus hour weeks over and over again. My health was suffering because of it. I am also a single mom to a 12-year-old daughter. I've been a single parent to her since she was born. I'm also a homeschool mom. So there's a
Oh
lot of
wow,
other
okay.
things, right, that are juggling with growing a business. So when I was working 50 plus hour weeks, she was playing by herself a lot. I would kind of give her her work and then I'm like, trust that she's doing it. Like, I don't, so
Yeah.
I wasn't catching workouts. I was getting to 4 p.m. and going, oh my God, I just had coffee. That's it today. So there
Yeah.
was a lot that was starting to fall apart, even though my business was going really well. So I said, okay, something has to change. And there was actually a moment with my daughter where she had come over to me and she said, Mom, like, I really want to play with you. And I was so busy and I had so many things on my to-do list. And I said, okay, like, I would love to play with you right now, but like, I can't, I'm a little bit busy. Let me look and see on my schedule when I have time. And when I looked at my schedule, I didn't have a pocket of time where I could have taken a break until it was a Monday, until the upcoming Thursday.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and that for me was like a big aha moment. Like if I can't take a 30-minute break to stop and play with my child for 3 days, that's not good.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I think a lot of probably business owners can relate to this, is that I kept thinking in my head, if I just hustle a little bit harder, if I just pull another 50-hour week, I'm eventually going to get to this point where my to-do list is done and like things are easy and like I have all this freedom that we dream about, like when we become entrepreneurs. And what I realize is that that doesn't happen unless we
It
make it
doesn't
happen.
happen.
I
Yeah.
know it's like so
So
unfortunate because I'm like, I'm just around the corner, like I'm almost
yeah.
there, like one more week, and it doesn't. So
Yeah.
I knew for myself after fooling myself for enough time that unless I put a hard stop in my own schedule and like really put some strict boundaries there, that it wasn't going to happen. So I started dialing back. I didn't go from 50 to 30. I kind of chopped that down as I went. I went to 40 at first because I'm like, that's reasonable. But what I found is that the 30-hour mark is when I felt like I was on top of all of the other things in life. And at 30 hours, I'm really productive. Once it starts getting over 30, my productivity dips. The quality of the work that I'm producing dips.
Yeah.
So I do 30, and it's not easy if you're like me, if there's listeners right now that are like those. I love my work.
Yeah.
So it's hard to stop. But I've been pretty honest about stopping at 30 hours. Just a couple weeks ago, the funny point is that my daughter was away for the Friday and I had hit my 30 hours by Thursday night. And I'm like, she's gone all day Friday. So I'm like, oh my God, that's a perfect time to like work without guilt. She's gone for like 8 hours,
Yeah.
but I hit my 30 hours and I'm like, ah. So I was talking to her, I'm like, buddy, I'm like, you're gone all day and like, I'm already at 30 hours. Like, what am I going to do? And she's like, you could watch a movie and you could go for a walk. And I will tell you, I stuck to it, but it was the hardest thing for me to do
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for years.
Yeah. I love that because I do think there is a point where you have to say enough is enough because beyond a certain point, and I think about like the 8 hour work, the idea of 8 hours a day of work, right? And how so often we're not really working those full 8 hours, like twiddling our thumbs for an hour, thinking about what we need to work on for another hour. Okay, take a lunch break. We probably only actually work like 3 or 4 hours. Okay. And then everything else is kind of, just a hodgepodge of things that we think we need to do. And also, the bar is just always moving, right? The bar is always moving. Once you get to your first revenue goal, it's like, oh, that's not enough. Is that it? No, we have to there's another goal to reach, right? So I love that you have kind of organized this in a way where like 30 hours is the cap. All of my work can be completed in 30 hours. My clients will be happy. My family will be happy. I will be happy. And I think a lot of us as small business owners, we have a long way to go in that type of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think challenging yourself to be able to do it in 30 hours actually makes you a better entrepreneur anyways,
Yeah.
because it's going to, instead of taking on 20 hours more stuff, you're then able to go, okay, maybe I should outsource at this point. And it actually just makes you be more efficient. It makes you bring on team earlier if that's what's going to make sense for your business. So I found way more benefits. Really, I mean, I'd say all benefits, but really entirely benefits out of switching from the 50 to the 30 in my business and in my personal life.
I love that. I love that. What are some of the common misconceptions that you see business owners have about email marketing?
They don't do it enough. So the biggest thing is that they don't do it. I mean, point blank, that's the biggest thing. I think one, not enough people are utilizing it the way that they should, which is interesting to me because if you talk to anyone who's in like the multi 6-7 figure businesses and you ask them, what do you wish you did differently? What do you wish you did sooner? Every single one of them very likely is going to say some version of, I wish I started building my list sooner. So when I heard enough people saying that, I'm like, okay, like, let me listen. They are clearly a heck of a lot more steps further than me if they're running a 7-figure business. Okay, I'm going to take your advice. So I think not enough people are starting it soon. So if we have people listening that don't have an email list started yet, today's the day. Let's start that list. So starting it soon. But then even when they started, I think one of the things that I see kind of going wrong is better than nothing. Yes, they're emailing every single week. I think that that's an amazing start. But not having a strategy or an intention. So it ends up either becoming just a lot of sales emails or just a lot of like content without a call to action, or versus having, like, the way that I teach it is that there's 9 essential email types that people should be sending on rotation. In order to move someone from being just someone that's new on your list to being a customer or client. So really having some thought and some strategy behind what you're sending.
Do you see that this happens more in like a B2C space than a B2B space? Because having been in B2B a lot, I get a lot of B2B emails, not as much in B2C. Or do you feel like there's an even split between both?
I think when we're business to business, that's where people get the misconception about email, because they're used to just seeing all these promotional emails. So you're hearing from these companies when they have a sale or when they have the special. So they're like, well, I don't want to be that. But I think when you're working with clients or customers, that's when we're going to see the other mistake. That's when we're going to see a lot of people just sharing stories about their life. And then, so I think they need to meet in the middle is what it is. And the way that I teach it is we're rotating in direct sales emails at least every 60 days. So you're going to do some sort of selling period, I would say 60 to 90 days. And a lot of your content that you're producing week over week has a call to action. So it is, people can make a sale from any email that they're sending. For sure. The way that we set it up.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Sounds good. For people that want to sign up for the Inbox Entrepreneur, how do we go about doing that? How do they connect with you? How do they get to work with you on building their email list?
Yeah. So what they would want to do is, so the Inbox Entrepreneur, it's the month-to-month membership that I have. It's going to give you, there's a bunch of core trainings in there, how to build a high converting lead magnet, how to set up your branding so that you're going to stand out even in the most crowded market space. We have stuff in there. So there's a good handful of core trainings that they'll get. As well, the thing that I'm super amped about is every single week, my members get a template that has 75% of the copy written for them that they can send to their people that week. So it takes so much of the guesswork when people are saying, I don't know what to write. Here's your template. Here's the little spots where you plug in your information. And these templates have been designed in a way with sales and messaging psychology built into them already, so that it's going to help move your people down the line to being customers or clients. So I love it because as business owners, we're not copywriters. So, and I don't want any of my business owners to have to focus on copywriting when they can really focus on the thing that they love. You know, I have a active listening specialist. I have a parenting coach. Focus on that and let me handle the copywriting and the sales psychology for you. It's already built in. So they're going to get all of that. So we open up the membership just a couple times per year in like a cohort style. And then once you're in, you can be in for as long as you want. You can keep your membership price. Even if the membership price goes up for new people, you're going to keep your price that you're grandfathered in. So I do open up typically every 2 to 3 months. I'll open up for a week for enrollment. So what people would want to do is they'd want to go to amykuphal.com/inbox. If they happen to land on that page at a time that we are in that 1 week open enrollment, they're going to be able to enroll. If they go to that site when we're not, they're going to be directed to a waitlist page so they can hop on the waitlist for the next open enrollment.
Awesome. Okay. amykufal.com/inbox.
Yes, that's
right. Is the URL. All right. So go and sign up. I also need to sign up as well. Email, I feel like email is making its big resurgence amidst all of the other tools that we tend to use and default to. And I think it is the thing that's gonna like outlast all of these things. As we wrap up, I want to ask you, what is your hashtag? What is the thing that interests you the most in your field of lead generation and email marketing? And what is your habit? What's something you credit as a daily and essential thing that helps you maintain growth, personal growth, business growth, the type of growth that matters to you right now?
All right. I love this question. This is such a fun question. So can I have two hashtags? Can I be a bit of an entrepreneur and like make my own rules? Okay, thanks. I know that's what we do best. We make our own rules. So my two hashtags, number one is going to be freedom. I think that is the main reason why so many of us come into entrepreneurship. Freedom is my hashtag. It's how can I create time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom in my own life and in the lives of the people that I work with. The other hashtag is simplicity. I say that simplicity is no matter what I'm cooking up, simplicity is always that spice I'm going to be sprinkling on top because it's in my blood. I can't even help it. So freedom and simplicity are my hashtags. My habit that I do, this is another little gem I want to throw on people. My habit that's made a big difference in my life beyond time tracking is I actually set up an alarm to go off 15 minutes before the end of my scheduled workday. When that alarm goes off, that's my indication start wrapping up. And then I just created a simple spreadsheet or worksheet that has every single day, it has Monday through Sunday, 3 check boxes. And then what I do every day at the end of my workday, I fill in the 3 top tasks that I want to get done for the following day. And why I like that is you're going to start that next day already knowing what you have to do. And when all of us get the idea of, let me just put 4 or 5 things or 6 things on, nope. We get 3. If you have to do a 4th one, you got to pick a new day for it. That's going to be huge in terms of making sure that you feel like you're ending every single day accomplished. You feel like you did the things that were most important in your business. I
love that. I that's something that I need to start doing. I have a tendency to just open my phone and talk to my phone and like, do this, remind me of this. And having those top 3 things really is like a discipline. That is like, it's a practice that I think we can all implement. Even if we're not running a business, it's something that we can just implement in our lives daily. So I love that. Amy, thanks for joining us today. This has been a great conversation. At amykufal.com/inbox is the URL. Any social profiles or anything that you want users to know where they can connect with you or follow your work?
Yeah, so the main place I hang out on social is Instagram. So that's just going to be at Amy Kuph. So it's AMYKUPH at Amy Kuph. And even though I don't post a ton, because honestly, I do use my social to just get people to my email list, I am on Instagram every single day in the DMs. So feel free if you want to connect with me on Instagram. I'd love if you mentioned, just DM me and let me know where you heard me on this show. That I think is a great thing because I love hearing that and hearing what everyone else is up to as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate all of the insights you've shared about email and lead generation. And I know myself and my audience is going to get a lot out of it. Thank you, everyone, for joining and listening, and we will see you next Tuesday.